left unsecured by an adult in the apartment. Close quote. The woman was shot in the head.
Yeah, I think that as an investigator, as a cop who would come to that scene, I think first you'd look at what type of gun was it? Was it a revolver? Because a revolver, the trigger to pull a trigger on a revolver is
Here it is. We've got a tragic accident, and right away you're going to.
Let's go into investigatory mode.
We've got to follow the evidence.
Let's follow the evidence.
All right, let's follow the evidence.
Yeah. So obviously it's the worst case scenario, an accidental shooting by a toddler. Okay, I roll up to the scene. What type of gun is it? Like I said, if it's a revolver. A toddler. How old's a toddler? Is a toddler 5 years old? Is it 3? Is it 7? What's the age here? They didn't give the age, so let's just assume it's 5. Is a 5-year-old strong enough to pull the trigger on a revolver? I would say in most cases, probably not. Ooh. Probably not. Ooh. But I don't know. Is it a large toddler? Is a kid strong? So you got to look at that. If it's an automatic weapon, then the trigger pull on that is very easy. So a toddler could very easily pull the trigger on that type of a weapon. Okay. Second, you got to look at who left the weapon out, because whoever left the weapon out, they're basically screwed. An unsecured weapon. I mean, are they going to be charged with manslaughter? The person who left the weapon unsecured in the house without a trigger guard on it. I'm not sure of Florida's laws, but if that happens in Massachusetts, if you have a unsecured weapon in your house and some kids are over playing at your house and they shoot someone, you're going to be held liable. You as the gun owner will be held liable. I don't know if you're going to get manslaughter, involuntary. I'm not sure what they're going to do to you, but you're going to be held liable to some degree. Now, let's take this the next step.
All right.
They haven't said that. I didn't see where it said that someone saw the toddler pull the trigger. They saw a toddler. They heard a gun go off.
I'm not even sure that they saw the toddler because they had seen the toddler. They had seen the toddler and heard a noise. Okay, so they didn't see the toddler shoot.
The next question is: was there anyone else in the house at that time? Was there a boyfriend? And it was the boyfriend's gun. I read in another news article that the boyfriend called 911. So the boyfriend either came home right away or was in the house. So did the boyfriend, was there some sort of a shenanigans going on there? And the only reason why I say that is because 30 years ago, when I worked in the Department of Youth Services, we had a 12-year-old kid in our program that was locked up because he was a little nutty. But his history was he allegedly, when he was 8 years old, got a hold of a gun and shot his mother's boyfriend in the head and killed him. However, as the story went, they believe that the family blamed the kid for shooting the boyfriend when in fact the mother shot the boyfriend. So,
wow,
is that a scenario here? I don't know, because this is a new case.
So the mother shoots the boyfriend
and blames the 8-year-old kid.
And then when they call the police, they say, "Oh, there was a terrible accident. My son did it. He's only 8 years old.
He's only 8 years old, so he's not going to be liable, especially if it's an accident.
Right.
So where's the truth there? I don't know. Where's the truth on this one? They didn't release a lot of information. Right. Cops don't always release. They're not going to release all the information.
I got to say this. This is the one thing that always gets me. There are two things about public information delivered on crime. One is the idea that and I had I'm trying to think of who said this. If it was she's a judge now. I think she was a defense attorney then. But we went to a conference years ago, and she was talking about defense attorneys and how much they should talk in a criminal case. And she said accurately, the prosecution gets its case out in front of the public at the time of the arraignment. And at that point, the defendant is just going to say guilty or not guilty. How do you plead? That's all they care about. So the question is, do you talk afterwards? And she says, the prosecution's just made its case. And she was advocating that if there was a case for the defense should make their case then. Maybe not in greatest detail. But this is why when I hear people who say, why hasn't this been investigated, or why don't police know this, or why don't police know that, or why aren't they releasing the information? And I say the reason is maybe they don't have it, or maybe they don't want to give away what they've got, because an ongoing investigation is an ongoing investigation.
If the police if I'm a cop and I think, Dave, you're a suspect, then I'm probably going to come up to you and befriend you and put you at ease and make you relaxed. So maybe you'll say something, and maybe you'll make a comment or show me something that I don't know. But in all the while, in the back of my head, I'm saying, yeah, I think Dave's a suspect here. Dave, I think Dave has something to do with his missing bride or something like that.
Excellent.
And you want to know what I do with my wife? I had her a few years ago. I had my wife sign a disclaimer.
A disclaimer?
Disclaimer. And it's notarized.
Legal
it's
disclaimer.
Legal tender. And it says, my wife wrote it, if I ever go missing under suspicious circumstances, i.e. fall off a cliff, i.e. poisoned, i.e. run over by a car. My husband is not a suspect. Please don't look at my husband as a suspect. She signed it. I'm covered, Dave. Because you want to know what it is? When a husband and wife go missing, or a husband goes missing, a wife goes missing, or there's a tragic accident, the first suspect is either the husband or the wife. All depends who's missing or who's dead.
Yeah.
That's the first person they go to, because that's the intimate relationship right there. So I'm covered. I got my disclaimer. It's in my pocket. I never go anywhere without it.
Well, as your lawyer, if I had been your lawyer when you had written that up, I would have had a lot more incidents.
A lot more things.
Under this condition, If she falls off a ladder, if she's found with stabbed with an icicle and there's water in her system, I would get all that stuff. I actually had a friend whose things were very bad, and I'm not going to get into. Well, yeah, she was having an affair.
There you go.
And he found out about it. And somebody gave them a cruise, like somebody to wouldn't they love the cruise? Wouldn't it be good for them? And it would have been under circumstances, but not under those circumstances. And I remember him going, and I remember saying to him, just don't push her over.
Don't push her overboard.
Because there are cameras everywhere on those boats.
Yeah, you see that. You see people going overboard on a cruise. I mean, is it the perfect crime? It could be, because more likely than not, you'll never find the body. So they're basically going to do a victimology on the victim. Did this person jump? Were they suicidal? Were they just drunk?
Right.
Or was there something sinister? Was the husband and wife arguing at some point during the night?
You're in the middle of the ocean. You're in the middle of the ocean, and there's alcohol involved on a cruise. The only reason I would say, obviously, you don't want to, there are all the ethical reasons, but the only reason, from the practical reason, to not do it would be because of the fact that somebody might see you, or the camera, because there are a lot of cameras on cruise ships. So basically, what you're saying is that everyone's potentially a murderer. The more I however, if there's a camera around, they won't do it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The only thing that deters me is because there's a camera. From a practical standpoint, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We watch all these shows on TV, and you're like, it's the perfect crime, and then it's like, we traced this. We found this piece of evidence, and then we traced your phone. And the next thing there's $1 million life insurance policy you just took out on your wife. Why wouldn't you take the insurance policy out like a year and a half ahead? We'll have to work on the perfect crime one of these days. That's wonderful right there. That's just, I think hanging around with you makes me more suspicious of people. Well, no, I'm trying not to do that, Dave. I want you to have a good outlook on life. I know, how old are you, 65? I'm 62. Thanks you're 62. I don't know how many years you get left. I want you to... Same age I was last week. All right. Same age I was last week. 62. Yeah. Well, I want you to have whatever. If you got 20 years left, Dave, I want you to have a good, happy 20 years. I don't think I got 20. I got short time ahead of me. Don't let my shortcomings screw up the rest of your life. This was a real case a few years ago, and I remember... I didn't write the story, but I edited it. And this was in Saugus, Massachusetts. It was a gun that had fallen during a move. It was up in the attic. And there was somebody had a gun. It was against the wall. And the story was that it had fallen and it had gone off. Yep. It happens. Yeah, there's a gun out there right now in the market, and I forget the name. Maybe it's a 40 caliber handgun. And there's some lawsuits, I think, in police departments in Massachusetts where the gun will just go off, whether it falls or it just goes off.
I forget though. You should have prepped me, Dave. You're telling me you were going to ask that question, but there is a gun. Obviously, what's happening
I'm pretty sure this was a rifle.
This is a handgun. This is a handgun that cops carry in Massachusetts.
Cops carry?
Absolutely, they do.
Wait. The cops carry a handgun that goes off like quickly, like a hair trigger?
No, it just goes off accidentally.
Whenever,
yeah.
But
however, the handgun.
So you're directing traffic and it just goes off?
It's not a common thing, but there's been a few that
it's a defect.
Yeah, there's some sort of. But how well? Oh, a defect? Oh, the gun manufacturer is. Oh, no, there's no defect. You must have touched the trigger, or you must have dropped it hard, or threw it against a wall. You must have done something, because they're never going to admit to that. They're not going to admit to a defect, because what happens if 4 people get killed by a defect?
Okay,
they're going to be liable for that. So, like I said, I forget the case, but I know there is a gun currently in Massachusetts that they probably pulled it off. Most cops who had it, they probably pulled it off. Obviously, a good police department will know that, and they're not letting their officers walk around with that gun.
Yeah, it's somebody could get hurt, including them.
Yeah.
How often does a cop shoot himself?
Oh, accidentally?
Yeah.
Back in the day, this is a little morbid. Back in the day when...
Now you got to worry about getting morbid.
Well, back in the day when a cop would be shot at home and it was a suicide, they'd always say that he was cleaning his gun and it went off accidentally.
Okay.
That was kind of the narrative, because you don't want to say he killed himself.
Right.
Obviously, that's
for years with obits, there was
accidental discharges. I saw a couple in the Marine Corps when I was in the Marine Corps. I saw a couple of people have accidental discharges. It's usually when you're playing around with the gun.
Okay.
It usually just doesn't go off. It's especially a revolver. A revolver doesn't go off because there's a mechanism in a revolver where you actually have to do a few steps.
Okay.
So that's really not going to work. Now, an automatic handgun, which is a little bit more technical, there's little weight factors that are involved in that. They can go off, but it's rare. It's usually someone screwing around with the gun.
What's standard issue? Are all police departments? Do they all have?
No, they're all different. There's 40 cal, 9 millimeters. 40, everyone's different. Everyone's different. In the military is standard issue, because in the event Private Rattigan gets shot and he can't use his weapon, then I can walk up to Private Rattigan and grab his weapon and use it. Now,
why would you want to get mine? Mine. Oh, okay. If I got shot,
because you got shot, Dave. I didn't want to get. You're dead in combat, and we need a weapon, Dave. We're going to grab yours, and everyone knows how to use it.
Yeah.
Now, in law enforcement, that's not the case necessarily. Yeah. But, a lot of guys are weapons guys. It's not rocket science.
You know what I would use if I was a cop in the beat? You know what I would use if I was a cop in the beat? I would get a little snub-nosed, little tiny one with like 2 bullets like they used to have on Wild Wild West.
The throwaway ones, yeah.
I'd put it in my boot. And every crime I'd investigate, I'd get captured.
Yeah.
And then I'd use I'd kick my boot, and I'd have that little knife come out like on Wild Wild West. I'd get out of it. And then I would arrest the penguin and his people. Anyway, I'm sorry. Where were we?
We're talking about guns, and the guns go off accidentally.
Yeah.
Usually not.
So it can. Okay. So the idea that the idea. I mean, it was a long time ago. It was probably the 80s or the early 90s. So the gun falls. I think it was an old hunting rifle. You're saying, I mean,
if you have old ammunition, in an old weapon, old ammo is very fragile. Absolutely very fragile. Yeah, things.
But it's got to be the hammer, right? I mean, it's got to be the hammer.
It does, but like I said, if it drops straight down and from hitting the butt of the rifle, it can trigger the hammer. Things happen. Yeah, guns are. Yeah, things can happen. Things happen. Weird things happen.
What do you think about leaving a loaded gun in the house?
If you're the only one that lives there, if it's just you that lives there and no one else is coming in your house, no kids, no buddies, no inquisitive people who like to snoop around your house when you're not there.
Yeah.
Legally, you can't. It can be loaded. It can be kept in your house, but it has to be locked.
Okay.
So unlocked, loaded, under your bed. If it's only you, I don't see the big problem with it. However, if you got kids or if you have, you meet some lovely lady after a great comedy skit, and she comes home and she's drunk and she's all fucked up and she wants to play Russian roulette with you, Dave. You're going to be in a world of shit. Not only might you get shot, but someone might do something weird with it.
Yeah.
It's never good practice to keep a loaded